straight right from the start. This isn't one of your feel-good, nicey films. If you want one of them, change the channel. There's probably some talentless jerk trying to be a pop star on the other side. I've been coming to Africa for years, so we decided this time to show you how crucial the work is here. Life is hard here, ridiculously hard. And so we decided to come to this hospital and show you how life is on the edge. Now, get your guts together. This is not pretty. I'd like to show you how common humanity, common decency, should make us all want to help them. This hospital's in Hargeisa, the capital of Somaliland, one of the poorest countries in the world. Poverty, you see, is what this program's really about. Poverty and where it takes you. Would you like a wee glimpse of hell? This, you would think this is an illustration from a Charles Dickens book. This is emergency, and you might wonder why I'm standing here, a big idiot from Scotland. I want to show you what the resources are here. You can see by your surroundings here. Everything's done on the extreme cheap. Now, not only that, that's him off work now. And you don't get any money. There's no sick pay here. In this bit of the world, that doesn't exist. You just get no money. These people need money very, very fast. It's serious. Yeah. We're going to spend a week watching them come and go at this hospital, and I tell you, we're going to meet some pretty brave people. This is Kader Musa, an 8-year-old boy from a remote village in the countryside. He hurt himself while playing with his friends. Really hurt himself. Dr. Yassine, the hospital director, is a bone specialist, so Kadar's granddad has brought him to the right place. All this din and the screaming you can hear in the background is because of the little boy whose arm is being fixed. Now, little boys with bad arms is one thing, but this kid with this extraordinary injury has traveled for 3 days to get here. That's the problem. It's only a little country, but if you get no money, how do you get any place? So he's been carried and lumbered and got lifts and flatbeds and whatever to get here over 3 days with this appalling injury.
We live in the country where we keep animals. We had to sell some sheep to pay for the transport here. My grandson threw up many times in the journey. The roads are very bumpy.
It's a compound fracture. That's the bone literally sticking out of his arm, and it has been for 3 days.
And now I'm feeling really very bad situation because the blood and the vessels are very weak. Pulse of the radius is very weak.
The break is restricting Kadar's blood flow. If it stops altogether, he could lose his arm. The staff will do what they can for Kadar, but it's hard for nurses like Kos to do their job properly. There's so little cash to go around here.
We have no glasses, so I clean out medicine jars to give patients a drink of water. Basic treatment here is free. Even tablets are free for those that have no money. Others must pay something towards the medicine. It's a government cost-sharing scheme. It has no money to provide free medicines.
Somaliland is in fact the 3rd poorest country in the world. Private health care is out of the question for people who find themselves here in Hargeisa Hospital. This is quite literally the end of the line, their last and only chance.
In this moment, we are not and giving the patient what they need. We are dealing with them what is available in the hospital.
Dr. Yasin and his team are doing the best they can, but this is a poor hospital for the poorest of people. Some families in Somaliland live on less than 50p a day. So even when they aren't injured, a lot of people are underfed and weak. What chance has this little fellow got?
In the hospital, we're trying our best. In this case, even the family, they cannot provide the special food. So maybe in the hospital, we're trying our best to give some help. But I'm sure it's not enough.
Not enough?
Yes.
Oh dear.
It looks like the 1 year old baby. And he's real 3 years old.
3 years old?
Yes.
Oh dear. That is very small, isn't he? This is a hospital, but not as we know it. This is the canteen. This was the ambulance. This is the garden. But we've seen goats in the wards here. A goat. Can you imagine in one of your hospitals, a goat wandering up the ward? You're in to visit your mother and there's a goat walks past you. What happens here? I want to see the sterilizer, the British sterilizer. Now, how long has it been here?
Since 1953.
1953.
It's the same age of the hospital.
My God.
So I can show you.
See, we're British, we know a lot about sterility.
Yeah.
How to behave in a sterile fashion.
You see, it's doing its job.
There it is.
Yes.
1953.
It's
And still going strong every day. 1953.
And it's still working. Now it's working. You see. You hear?
Listen, listen. Sounds like an egg being fried. Doesn't it? Now, when you come to a blood bank in a hospital like this, there isn't sort of people in white coats and a big enamel shelf with bottles and bottles and cases of bottles of blood. You bring your relatives, and that's the people you can see standing behind me. I don't want to fiddle with their dignity and point at them. But that's the families of the patients, and they've come to give blood to the patient because they don't have any in here, and if they had any, they don't have the refrigeration to deal with it. And that's one of the jolly things that war brings you, you know. In 1988, this was the northern part of Somalia. But a brutal, full-scale civil war erupted when a resistance movement set about toppling the tough regime imposed by the president. In the fighting, Hargeisa was flattened by the president's bombers. Thousands were killed and millions more Somalis fled to nearby Ethiopia, where they were forced to live in wretched conditions in refugee camps. When the fighting finally ended in 1991, those that had survived all this began to return to their country. 12 years on, they're still suffering the after effects of that war, and nowhere is it more obvious than in Hargeisa Hospital. Now, to you people at home, it may seem very odd that you need a notice in a hospital saying weapons are forbidden. But in a society like this that's been through so many years of siege and civil war and has become so incredibly poor, there are still a lot of guns around the place, and violence is rife among the poor because very little means very, very much. And people will fight to an extraordinary extent with extraordinary weapons for what we regard as very little. At the extreme end of poverty, this violence thing always occurs because people will fight for something that you would just kick aside. Outside emergency, a child in great pain is unloaded from the back of a beaten-up pickup truck. Little 4-year-old Abdi Omar has horrific burns to his hand and his ankle. His mum was cooking porridge when Abdi somehow knocked the boiling stuff over himself.
He was in the yard when we heard him scream. We rushed to him and bought sugar and kerosene on the bench.
With no proper health education in their remote community, this desperate do-it-yourself treatment was Abdi's best hope.
Sugar is supposed to cool the burn down, and kerosene stops it from blistering. His treatment could take weeks, but I'm worried that the hospital won't have the medicine he needs. We probably have to go into the city to try and buy some medicines and dressings.
We are a poor nomadic family with just a few animals. We can't afford to sell any of them to pay the hospital. If Abdi needs more treatment, I shall have to ask my relatives to lend me some money. We are scared of the cost, but I shall do as the doctors say. I want my son to get better.
We don't subsidize this hospital. It's nothing to do with us. It's out of our league. We've shown you this as the end of the line. This is the end of the poverty line. You got no money, you get sick, you hang on too long to go to the doctor because you don't have the money. Because you hang on too long, you're too sick by the time you get there to get the regular treatment that you deserve. Plus, you don't have the money to stay longer. The whole spiral goes round and round and round. And it's terrifying, and it's the poverty that's causing it, and we can help. With so many people coming into the hospital from the countryside, I wanted to travel out, see for myself what life was like for people out here. % of Somaliland people rely on their animals for survival out in this harsh environment. Nasa Hablod. Legend has it the Egyptians used to come here for frankincense, and they got the idea for the pyramids from the one on the left. I don't know, but it's Nasa Hablod, breasts of a woman. I think the baby's been a bit overzealous with the one on the right. But you can understand it, can't you? Everything in Scotland is that. It's called paps and stuff like that. You find it all over the world, breast, man. Men are obsessed with breasts. Nasa Hablod, write it down. When you're as poor as these people are, these animals represent life itself. With animals, you have food, clothing, and an income. Without them, you have nothing. A live animal is like money in the bank, and that's where you come in. Comic relief money funds vet aid that pays for Jibril. His job is to keep the animals alive, give these people more money in the bank, as it were. I like Jibril. That's a very courageous hair colour, I think you'll agree. Jibril comes out and trains the people in these remote settlements in affordable animal health care methods. Animal diseases are a constant threat, but a simple prevention like this spraying, and farmers have got a fighting chance of staying on the right side of the poverty line. This is a good old African tick spray operation. I was going to ask for a little spray under the arms myself. Do camels suffer from ticks too?
Yeah.
All animals out there?
Unless you kill these ticks,
Yes.
they transmit diseases again and again.
Basra and Kalsum here are like an insurance policy. They're keeping the community's animals healthy, which keeps the people themselves healthy, which in turn means they can stay away from the hospital. And better still, Jibril's organisation thought that while they were teaching them the animal stuff, it made sense to throw in a bit of human health care too. Basra and Kalsum have signed up for a basic health care course.
It's good because we've been taught new ways of looking after the animals and treating the illnesses if they do get sick.
Before I left, Jibril was keen to show me some other advances in animal health care, particularly for some obscure reason in the area of castration. So he's put his testicles on there?
On here, and then they beat.
Oh, God, I
Like
can feel
this.
it.
Bang, bang, bang. And it's very, very cruel.
Yes, this is a one on to me.
Yeah.
This is a ball breaker on a stick, sometimes known as feminism.
Yeah.
We're off the air!
But now, we have given them this one.
Yes.
So we have trained it this. You put the testicles here. do it like that, and then chop it off.
That's the difference between yesterday and today. Soprano makers. Back at the hospital, there's a commotion as the next patient arrives at emergency. An 18-year-old called Hodan has fallen feet first down a half-built latrine. She lives 3 hours drive away, but it's taken her family 3 days to bring her in because they couldn't get the transport. She's a beautiful girl, and her dad Mohammed's desperately worried.
I was just walking along flat ground, and I didn't see a deep hole covered in plastic. I fell right down into it. The hole was so deep, it took many men to pull me out.
I couldn't find any transport to get us here. It's taken us until this morning.
I think there's 2 fractures, in the humerus and the femur. These are the first suspicion. But fortunately, there's no external wounds. So maybe this decreased the infection, the site of the infection. Really, she came for the fracture, but during our, when we are examining her, we found she's anemic case. I think when we are taking from her the history, the cause of anemia, it's not due to another disease, it's due to the low food intake.
This often happens. People come to the hospital for one simple problem, but matters are often made much worse by other complicating factors.
Really, the time that they are taking from them and location, house, whatever it is, to the hospital, it's very critical to us and to the patient themselves, both. It becomes more easy if they came and very quickly and with a short period.
Hodan's case is typical. The longer it takes to get to hospital, the greater the risk of needless infection. And sometimes families rely on local traditional healers instead of risking the expense of a hospital visit.
With the traditional healers, sometimes they're doing some operational interference. That means they're doing some operations. They're inserting wires or nails, whatever it is, inside the bones, which later on will become osteomyelitis. That means infection of the bone. And the patient staying with the traditional healer for a while, for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, until the traditional healer himself or herself say, okay, no, we can do no, and we can do no more, so you can go to the hospital.
Hodan is being taken for X-ray. Her injuries are serious. Stay around, we'll follow her story. Abdi Omar, the little guy with the porridge burns, has been moved to a ward to get his burns bandaged. But in Somaliland, no treatment, however small, can be taken for granted. It's very tough on the nurses.
I'm redressing his wounds. I need to put on a bandage that will allow more air to get to the burns. But the bandage I need is not available in the hospital. It is a big problem because such poor patients cannot afford the dressings he's going to need. I asked another patient whether they had any spare bandage. Luckily, they did and offered us what they had left.
I am so grateful to that person and thank them so much. If his wounds get infected, then his arm and his leg will need to be amputated. I saw people like this who fled civil war to Ethiopia, and so many lost their limbs through infection.
Hodan, the girl who fell, has also been admitted onto a ward. Now the X-rays have been taken, Dr. Yassin has a clearer idea of the treatment she needs.
The rear fracture of the right humerus is it needs just POP, means cast. No operation. So this we're going to try for the cast only. It's the humerus. For the femur, I think for this case, because she's young, so she needs internal fixation. So we're going to try, if it's available, the plate and the screws, if the family agree, and if we have the devices. So two problems. Sometimes they prefer the healers. So sometimes when we say to her or to the family, we are doing the operation, second day they are taking her to the healers.
The doctors can do nothing without the approval from Hodan, her father Mohammed, and her family. They alone must weigh up whether the family can afford the treatment Hodan so desperately needs.
So now they are going to conversation. So at the night or we're going to get the answer.
And that's life at the edge, deciding whether to spend money you just haven't got on treatment you absolutely need. In a tough place like this, you've got to get your laughs where you can. Life would be unbearable otherwise. But even behind the apparently funny things like Jibril's bright orange hair, there's a pretty serious tale to be told.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about your hair.
Well, during the war, that was the first time I have ever seen people killed.
Yes.
Then I have to walk from here to escape in the night to the refugee camp in Ethiopia.
You walked to Ethiopia?
Yeah, I walked to Ethiopia. And everywhere there were the soldiers, all everywhere. Some of the fellows who were walking with us were killed. But I luckily escaped. Because of these problems, my hair completely got gray.
Yeah? How long did that take?
It's just like that.
Well, my hair went grey over 10 years. I didn't get a fright, I just got old.
Okay.
That was frightening enough. You make sense of it, I can't make sense of it. It's too weird for me. That's absolutely great. I love that.
Okay.
We had a very strange Scotsman living here. He was eating the camel's testicles. There's a new arrival in emergency. Abdi Ibrahim, who's delirious through diarrhea and vomiting, has been brought in by concerned friends. Abdi's wife, Nagad, is beside herself with worry. She's lost 3 children through illness and she can't bear to lose her husband as well.
He's been sick for 3 days, but it's the first time he's been sick since we were married.
Sometimes you can't believe how hard life is here.
I've lost 3 children already, 1 in pregnancy, 1 shortly after, and the 3rd was 7 months old.
When he came in, we could see how dehydrated he was through diarrhea and vomiting. So we put him straight on a drip.
The doctors think Abdi's condition has probably been caused by drinking contaminated water. No wonder Abdi and his wife share their one water source with 6,500 other families. When they returned to Somaliland after the Civil War, they had no choice but to live in Sheikh Noor, this overcrowded slum on the edge of town. It's this kind of place where Comic Relief need your money, so we can provide clean and safe water for really vulnerable people. This is the sort of stuff that happens without it. Abdi is just one of the 75 patients a week who come to Hargeisa Hospital with diarrhea and vomiting. The results of his test have come back, and the good news is he doesn't have any parasites. They thought it might be just some parasite living inside him causing it all. The bad news is it's bacterial, and it probably comes from that place where he lives, Sheikh Noor, where they live in these makeshift tents on a rubbish dump. He's going to be in here for 7 to 10 days, and that's another problem. He can't work, and how does he keep his family? Well, he's in here for 7 to 10 days. They have to come with him and feed him. There's not enough food here.
You know, he's not happy, and he said my wife used to go home and cook, and she cannot go there and come back here because the distance is enormous. And the child used to get milk, but now, you know, there's nothing we can do about it.
Another terrible problem is that most of the people out there have great trust in pills and stuff, and they call everything medicine. But you know, it might be anything. It could be medicine for your ears or your knees or headaches or something. And he's been golloping them down. Abdi's so-called medicine could have done him more harm than good. It's one more complication that the doctors could do without. These communities are in desperate need of the simplest health education. And it's amazing what a little knowledge can do. You're looking at a beacon of light in a very dark situation. Ifra has received training in basic health care, and she spends her whole life demonstrating this to her neighbours in this poor district who can't afford to go to hospital. She's funded by Comic Relief.
I left school in grade 6 because of the war. When it was over, I was able to come home. Then I trained for 8 months. I really wanted to do this medical course. I felt strongly I should do something to help my people. Before I did this course, I knew nothing about hygiene and nothing about medicine. I learned how to dress wounds. I learned boiling water was important and that hygiene was important. I learned so many good things on this course.
Just 50 quid pays for someone like Ifra to get 8 months of basic health training so she can go out and help her neighbours. It's a great example of where you give the cash and local people really put it to work. Ifra buys simple medicines from a local pharmacy, sometimes using her own money, and takes them back to the makeshift surgery in her home. She's at the front line, beginning to break the cycle of poverty. Seems like a bit of a hero to me.
If people want to give me something toward the medicine, I'll take it. But most people are too poor to pay. I buy the medicines myself and treat the people even if they cannot afford to pay. I was able to do the training because it was free. I'm very glad I had this opportunity.
Back at the hospital, an expectant mother has come in, having developed complications trying to give birth at home. For most people in Somaliland, a home birth isn't a lifestyle choice. The hospital fee for even an uncomplicated birth is a month's wages. I have 5 of these at home. I have 5 children. They're big now. All of them born in hospital with all mod cons. I attended the births of them. And let me tell you, it was terrifying. And I'm speaking as the guy. Now, can you imagine? I can't imagine for a second being the woman giving birth, even in those luxurious circumstances that my children were born in. Transfer that thought to here. Can you imagine giving birth in a tent on a rubbish dump with no doctor, no nurse, no clean instruments, with nobody to help you? Well, that's the way it used to be. But thanks to Comic Relief, there are people called TBAs, trained birth assistants. And they know all the modern, clean ways. They bring a kit that costs $2, $2 lousy dollars. Before they used dirty rags, they'd no water. It was all, you know, tying the umbilical cord with a dirty rag is just mind-boggling to me. Goodness knows, birth assistants like Amina here are badly needed. While in Britain, 1 or 2 women a year die in childbirth, here in Somaliland, a much smaller country, as many as 45 women die every day as a result of pregnancy and birth complications. Amina has helped mothers in a settlement with over 700 deliveries in her time, but only recently has she had any formal training.
When we fled to the refugee camp during the war, women were giving birth and having problems all around me. I had to learn by helping others because there were no nurses and no midwives at all.
Oh my God, so she basically learned it in the refugee camp in Ethiopia?
Yes, in Ethiopia.
My, she's done an extraordinary job. Amina had a lot of experience, but now Comic Relief's cash is helping pay for training of women like her to accurately predict a due date and to use basic but life-saving equipment like clean razor blades, soap and rubber gloves. Second, could you ask Amina what difference it has made?
It was very difficult before. All things I used were dirty. Now that everything is clean, it makes a big difference. I have no salary. Those that can afford it offer me some money. But the people here are very poor. So poor that I give them money.
Tell her I think that what she does is absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much. In health, knowledge and prevention are so crucial, you see. Many patients who come through the doors of the hospital just didn't have to be in such a critical condition. If only they had a basic healthcare system to sort things out right at the beginning. Bar Ibrahim has been suffering for years with a swollen abdomen and unbelievably has only just come to hospital about it.
My wife has been ill for a long time. I couldn't afford to bring her here.
Remember, this woman is not pregnant.
In the end, I had to borrow money from my niece.
Fluid in the abdominal cavity. The different causes, either heart, liver, kidney, and other tumors, sometimes tumors. I think this is either tumor or liver. Now her problem is difficult breathing because this huge abdomen pressing the lungs and making the breathing very difficult.
With such limited resources, all the doctor can do is begin to drain off the fluid in Bar's abdomen. We were all afraid it was far too little, far too late. But there is some hope to be had here. I heard that little Abdi Omar's burns were in the mend and went to say hello. This is the same little guy that was screaming his head off. How's Abdi feeling now that he's had his treatment?
He's much better. His wounds are healing.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. How long do they reckon he'll be in here?
She thinks about another 7 days.
Another 7 days for Abdi's porridge burn. And will Abdi need any special medicine when he leaves here?
He will need some food and some vitamins because he's underfed as well.
Oh, he's got malnourishment as well as the burn. I hope he does very, very well. Thank you. On the other side of the hospital, the pretty 18-year-old Hodan, who broke her legs in a fall, is about to be moved. But it's not to the operating theatre as you would expect and pray. Hodan has been taken home.
The relative told me that they cannot afford to stay a long time in Hargeisa because they cannot pay not only for the hospital costs but only for the general cost to stay in Hargeisa. So really, one of the problems is the poverty, and I think I understand why they return back. And we are sorry, really, we cannot do anything in here in the hospital for that kinds of the problems.
I have made the decision to take Hodan home. I can't stay here. I must be near our home. They have to go. There are many things to do there. A man in a village nearby can fix broken bones. He can come and take care of Hodan.
This is what I'm trying to tell you. This is a place where for the lack of a few quid, you have to hitch a ride home from hospital on a flatbed truck with 2 broken legs and no treatment in sight. It's night time in the wards. Kadar, the little boy with a badly broken arm, has his family at his bedside. Selling their precious animals has allowed them to stay in town until he's better. At 4 a.m. on the outskirts of Hargeisa, our friend Amina, the trained birth assistant, has been called urgently to one of our expectant mothers. This isn't Hinder's first baby. She had a complicated labour last time. It could be another long night. This is like a scene from the Nativity. But it's 2,000 years on, and still women are bringing children into the world in a dirt floor in a cramped hut.
I can feel that the head is here and she is fully dilated. I've been doing this for 12 years now. I've lost count how many babies I have delivered, but it's about 8 a month.
Outside the hut, Hinder's husband Ali is nowhere to be seen. There's no let-up when you're this poor, you see. Ali has to work all night, every night, sometimes sweeping, sometimes selling water. It's the only way he can feed his family. Home births don't come any more basic than this. But you know, 1 in 10 babies in Somaliland don't even make it this far. With hemorrhaging and infection a real possibility, the odds are stacked against Amina. If ever you doubted that your money went where it was needed, then the kind of training Amina's received should convince you otherwise. These are the sort of lives you get involved with when you support Comic Relief. You actually pay for the kind of care you saw in this hut. You were probably sat on a couch munching crisps when you parted with your cash. And look what it can do. Good on you.
I'm so happy that he is fine. Thanks to God, it was a good bath. I'm so relieved.
A baby has been born in a hut in Somaliland, and you were there, lending a hand. Look at this little guy. This is Dakir. He's named after the dawn when he was born. This is the most beautiful thing. That's an international symbol of hope he is. Isn't he beautiful? That's my big guy, but it's a bit windy for him out here. I'm going to put him back in. beautiful boy. Back at the hospital, Bar Ibrahim, the woman suffering from a swollen abdomen, is suspected of having hepatitis B in its advanced stages. Sadly, Bar is not alone. This is an entirely preventable disease, but up to 20% of the population has got it. You see, here in a poor country devastated by war, there's no money for a vaccination program.
She was sick, she told me, for 2 years, almost 2 years. And she can't come to the city because she have no money to come to the city. So she was asking her relatives to collect her some money so she can come to Hargeisa.
I'm here for her, but I can't afford to stay here too long. I've got to return to our children. They are on their own. Since she's been ill, I haven't been able to work. And if I don't go to work, then there is no income.
How are you coping? You can't work while you're here looking after your wife. You make charcoal normally and sell it. You've sold all your charcoal. How are you getting along?
I go into the city and ask people for money for bread and milk so that we can eat.
Really? Could you ask Mohammed how he's going to cope if he needs to buy medicine for his wife? You know, because obviously she's going to need a lot of medical treatment. How will he be able to afford it with his normal work of making charcoal?
I can't afford the medical treatment. I tried to make a little charcoal, but there are no trees left. I can just about feed my family, but there isn't a penny spare.
Oh my God. Does he think he'll ever get back to his previous way of life, of looking after cattle and stuff?
Yes, if it's God's will. If she's cured or if she dies, I can go back to work. But while she is in this condition, I can't do nothing.
We went back inside so Mohammed could be with Bar. Her doctor was trained in Canada, but has returned to help his devastated hometown. He's told us he's heartbroken at what he sees every day.
This disease, hepatitis B, is like AIDS. Can be transmitted from mom to her children during the pregnancy, during the delivery. So she has 7 children. Perhaps a lot of them are already carrying the disease. There is no vaccination of hepatitis B in Somaliland at all.
If Bar does have hepatitis B, the prognosis couldn't be worse. All the doctor can do is drain the fluid from her abdomen. This is a constant procedure, and Mohammed just can't afford the £30 a week it'll cost to care for her. And she's lying in there, and it's too late. Basically, that's the story. And Mohammed doesn't know that she's in such a bad state. He knows she isn't going to get better very quick, but I don't think he knows the real gravity of it. She isn't going to get better. Out here, you see hearts breaking every day. Bar's blood test confirms the worst. It's hepatitis B.
He is thinking about if the result of the blood test come out. I told him we get the disease we were suspecting, and we have to check also their children if they have the disease or not, especially the children.
Mohammed asks if his wife will get better. It's the question any doctor dreads having to answer.
I don't want him to be feel sad. Perhaps she will feel today better. He don't know that there is no cure.
There's no cure. And you know, Mohammed and Bar are no different to any of us. Wives who love their husbands, husbands who love their wives. This country needs help desperately. Can you imagine bringing your children here to have their injuries seen to? But these poor people are delightful people. As you can see, they're very noble people with an extraordinary history. They are great, great people who would love to be great, great people again. Abdi Ibrahim, who was admitted with severe diarrhea and vomiting, is now able to sit up in bed and should be out and about in a week or so. Thank God. Abdi's staying here and Nagad's going back home today. And we have the rare privilege of going home with her and seeing what her house is like. So I can perhaps show you how this whole cycle of disease happens. Look at that baby. Hello. Big smiley face. So you're going to go home and play with the family, your brothers and sisters and all? Are you coming? We're going to your house. See what happens to you. You get all covered up. Isn't that cool? Huh? Resettlement camps like Abdi and Nagad's are a hotbed for diseases. When he does come home, Abdi is simply returning to the conditions that made him so sick in the first place. Hello. And this is his house. This tent made of sacks and bags is where a whole family lives. Well, it'll be a struggle for her to get the type of food he's going to need to get stronger so as he can work to support the family.
It's going to be difficult because there's no one to provide money for the food.
Of course there is. And what are they going to do about water, about getting clean water? Is it difficult?
I collect water from the water tap. It's very heavy and I have to carry it home on my back.
But the problem is that the water Nagad shares with so many others just isn't clean. Half the world's hospital beds are occupied by patients with waterborne diseases. The terrible truth is that most Somali children die from diseases that would be just so easy to prevent with a little extra cash.
Many people here are sick but don't have the money for hospital fees. They are forced to come back here. My friend has just brought a very sick child home. They have to look after him here.
And they just try and feed it and keep it. We've seen this picture again and again. They can't afford it, so they get sicker and they go back. And your dad's not recovered yet, is he? He needs a lot of good food to make him a big, strong guy like you, so he can work and keep you, doesn't he? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's time to get into the sunlight again. Oh, by the way, this here is the remains of a wee shop that Abdi and Nagad tried to run, but they couldn't afford any more stock, and it kind of fiddled away. But as you can see, they've still got a wee bit of stuff left. They're great triers, great workers and triers, not lazy people. They're wonderful. I was driving back through town when I bumped into my old orange-haired friend Jabril the vet. He wanted me to meet a special guy called Ali, a blacksmith.
Just waiting for you.
Shouldn't you be away looking after somebody's donkey or something? You should be away delousing a camel or something. Oh, this is extraordinary.
Yeah.
Who's Ali?
Ali
Is that you, Ali?
Yeah, that's Ali.
Hi, Ali. How do you do?
Yeah.
We're here to talk to you, Ali. You know, after any trouble in the world, they always tell you, let's make our swords into plowshares, and the lion will sleep with the lamb, and the blah-de-blah-de-blah. But this man actually turns swords into plowshares. He finds military vehicles from the war, abandoned, beats the hell out of them, and makes things that are of some use to somebody. This is the sound of peace. The shovel is being cut out even as we speak from an armoured car. You know, peace isn't hippies running around waving feathers in the air.
I enjoy cutting up the vehicles because they were used to kill people. Now I turn that metal into tools that will help feed them.
It's wonderful. In one fell swoop, he's cleaning the whole place up. I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, for an old car.
You see the bellows? Clock the bellows. It's the inner tubes from an old armoured car. I love that.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Back at the hospital, Kadar, the little guy with a broken arm, is soon to be on his way. Hello, Kadar. You're looking very healthy. He's come a long way since he arrived in emergency. It's great to see him looking so good now. I saw you and you were crying and you had really hurt your arm very badly. It was a compound fracture, your bone was sticking out of your arm. And I thought, that boy is in a lot of pain. But you're now a healthy, handsome guy, full of life again.
She's much better.
Yeah, and I believe you had to sell some animals to afford to come here.
20 sheep.
20? How do you feel?
Still moving.
Good. Could you tell him I'm very happy that he's getting better?
wuxuu ku yidhi aad iyo aad baan ugu faraxsanahay inaan arkay inuu isagoo sidan u wanaagsanaaday maalintii waanu ka wada naxnay runtii okay
Somalilanders celebrate when they can, because hard times can always be just around the corner. Remember beautiful Hodan, 18 years old with both her legs broken. Well, this is where they brought her. This is her home. This is one of the things I really don't like to do. I never thought I'd have to do it in my entire life. But because of comic relief, I'm willing to do this. You know all about Hodam in the hospital and her parents and people having a meeting and deciding what to do and taking her back. Well, 2 days later, she was dead. We told you this isn't a pretty affair. You know, we didn't come here to make a sweetie, sweetie film. I wanted you to see how harsh and how cataclysmic life can be here, how catastrophic. Hello, Mohammed. Shalom alaikum. Can I say on behalf of all my friends how deeply, deeply sorry we were to hear about your daughter's death? Could you ask him how his family has been since the tragedy happened? How have his family been coping with it?
We have to accept her death. Only God knows what will happen in life and death. I must accept what has happened. It's simple as that.
When you made the decision to leave the hospital and come back to your village for the traditional healer, how difficult was it for you to make that decision?
I had to bring her home whether she lived or died. I had no choice. If I could have paid for the treatment, then she could have lived.
This is real poverty. when you're forced to take your own flesh and blood out of a place where she has some hope of recovery to a place where she has none. Hodan, a beautiful young girl from Somaliland, fell down a hole, broke her legs, and then died. It's been a mind-boggling week for me, full of things I thought I'd only see in nightmares. But for the hospital and the people who had the misfortune to end up here, it's just an everyday reality. You know, Dr. Yassine, I've only been here for a week, and we've met extraordinary people with extraordinary problems and injuries, and I'm completely overwhelmed, and I find myself being surmounted with this massive problem.
Generally, really here, as you saw and mentioned, there's a lot of problem.
Yes.
Huge, not a lot of huge problems really. Most of the cases which is coming to the hospital are simple problems at the beginning.
And that's prevention and keeping the wounds clean.
Yes. The prevention is the beginning, and the treatment is the later on. So the primary and the priority is the education, and continued education may be for the improving the situation.
It's good to come to a place like this, see poverty at first hand, see how it affects real people, not just read statistics about it. I came here because a lot of you give cash to Comic Relief, and you deserve to see the need, and also see how you're helping. All the silly nonsense of Red Nose Day is actually about the deadly serious business of helping unbelievably brave people to change their lives. Well, first of all, congratulations for surviving the film. I've never had to watch it the way you did, completed. And I'd like to stress it on you that I know you've had these requests from morning to night for a long time, but we do plead with you for Comic Relief to assist these wonderful people. We're not asking you for a handout, by the way. Just a wee hand up, get them a start. They are extraordinary people and have been for a long, long time, in deeply unfortunate circumstances of poverty. Give them a hand, you can do it. If you'd like to make a donation right now to Comic Relief, please do call 08457 910 910. Or you can donate online at www.bbc.co.uk/Red Nose Day.
I was lost, oh yeah.